Hi and welcome back to the shop. This is a pretty simple project, so I think it's a great opportunity to learn how to work with veneer. This box is veneered with white oak and it's PSA veneer, also known as pressure sensitive veneer, also known as peel and stick veneer, and that's essentially what you're doing is applying a sticker. But there are a few tips and tricks to make sure that you get a good bond with the veneer and a good project. This box is veneered using the more commonly used contact cement, but there's also a few helpful tips that I'll go over when I veneer this box. If you'd like to build this project, click on the link to the plans down in the description below. And while you're there, check out some of my other furniture project plans. They all have step-by-step video tutorials right here on YouTube designed to help guide you through the project. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm building the boxes with 1/2-inch birch plywood, and this project is a good opportunity to use some of those offcuts that might be hanging around the shop. I'll rip the parts to width on the table saw and then set up a stop block and cross-cut the parts to length with the miter saw. Before I assemble the box, I want to cut out this handle. To cut out the handle, I made a simple jig, and I'll use a 1/2-inch straight bit in the router with a bushing to cut the handle out. If you want to make the project a little simpler, you could also drill an 1.25-inch hole, measuring down so the top of the hole is 1 inch from the top of the basket. I made the jig the same width as the sides, so I'll make sure that I'm flush at the sides and the top and clamp it in place. To build the box, I'm using wood glue and 1.25-inch 18-gauge nails, and I'm nailing through the side with the handle into the wider side, and I'll try to clamp the parts in place just so it's a little easier to line them up. I'm nice and flush at the sides, bottom and top, and when I nail the parts together, I'm going to hold the gun like this because you're less likely to get blowouts holding the gun like this as opposed to like this. Now I can attach the back in the same way, and I did cut the back just a little bit heavier than the box, and then I can clean it up with a flush cut bit in the router. I'll make sure that I'm flush at least on 2 sides, and that'll square up the box. Okay, now the box is built. I do have a little bit of a lip right here, and I'll clean that up with a flush cut bit in the router. After building the boxes, I filled the nail holes and any of the imperfections in the end grain of the plywood. While the fill was drying, I cut the veneer to size, about 1/2 inch heavy, and that'll give me a 1/4 inch overhang on all 4 sides. This first box, I'm going to veneer with peel and stick veneer, known as pressure sensitive veneer. In order to get a good strong bond with pressure sensitive veneer, you'll need to seal the plywood. I like to use a water-based polyurethane or lacquer, and I'll apply 2 coats, sanding in between coats with 220 sandpaper. Using these, what I call nailers, basically simple blocks of wood with 1.5 inch screw in them, will allow me to get a coat on all 4 sides of the box. Okay, I've got this box all prepped and ready to go. This box is getting the pressure sensitive veneer, so you prep it a little bit differently. I've got 2 coats of a water-based clear finish. That's to lock up any of the wood fibers and create a nice smooth surface to get a good bond with the veneer. This is the peel and stick veneer. I haven't peeled off the back yet. What I want to do is use a piece of plastic. That's going to allow me to position the veneer so I have an even overhang all the way around. Another good tip is to use a clothes iron set at medium heat, and this will warm up the adhesive to create a stronger bond. The craft paper will prevent the iron from making marks on the veneer. Instead of using a J-roller, I'm using a board with a slight round over at the edge to apply pressure to the veneer. Just be careful around the edges so you don't break them. Now that I have the 2 sides veneered with an even reveal all the way around, I'll use a flush cut bit in the router to trim the veneer. With the sides finished, I'll repeat the process for the front and back of the box. Alright, well that's all there is to it with the peel and stick veneer, and I think this is going to look really good, especially when the inside and the inside of the handle here is painted white. Now I'll move on to this one. It's going to get ash on the side. That's called the wide section, the side, and the part with the handle, the front. Then it will get the walnut on the front. I'll do the sides first. And for this veneer, I'm using contact cement, so the process is just a little bit different. I'm using the solvent-based contact cement from DAP, and I've lined the paint tray with tinfoil for easy cleanup. I'll apply the contact cement with a mohair roller. And here's another good example of how the nailers will allow me to apply the contact cement to both sides of the box. Now I'll apply the contact cement to the back of the ash veneer that will be attached to the sides of the box. The first coat of contact cement seems to really suck into the plywood and the veneer backing, so I like to apply 2 coats. I'll cover the paint tray and roller in between coats with a piece of tinfoil to prevent them from drying. After letting the contact cement dry for about 15 minutes, I'll apply a second coat to both the plywood box and the back of the veneer. Once the second coat of veneer has dried, I'll apply the veneer using the same method as the pressure-sensitive veneer. First veneering the sides, trimming the edges with a flush cut bit in the router, and then repeating the process for the front and back. I'm painting the insides of the box and the handle Dove White. The paint that I'm using is Benjamin Moore's Command, and I'll apply 2 coats, sanding in between coats. After removing the painter's tape, I'll give the boxes one final sanding and then finish them with lacquer. Okay, well, I'm really happy with the way these turned out. Good, useful project. Always like making things that have a use, like a trash can. But you could also use the same process and make whatever you like, whether that's speakers or maybe a chest of drawer or bookcase. Working with veneer opens up all kinds of design possibilities because it makes the building process a little bit easier, and you really don't have to worry about expansion and contraction like you do with solid wood. I added the nylon domes to the bottom of this one, and I'll be doing the same here. That helps to protect the bottom from any potential tear out if it's getting dragged along the ground. And this one's going out into the shed, which is now my wife's new office. It'll go right next to the desk that I built her about a month or two ago. And if you didn't see that project, I'll have a link to it down in the description as well. That's it for now. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. If you would like to build the furniture for your home, visit my website at johnpeters.com and check out my furniture project plans. Each project has a step-by-step video tutorial right here on YouTube designed to help guide you through the project. With a large variety of beginner to intermediate woodworking projects, I'm sure you'll find something that will inspire you to spend more time in the shop.